Gluckstein Lawyers proudly present Butter Torts, a truly Canadian legal podcast. We're excited to have you join us bi-weekly as we interview guests on a variety of different topics related to personal injury. We look forward to sharing our expertise, insights, and most importantly, our stories with our listeners while providing a better understanding of the personal injury legal landscape. You'll have a chance to meet many members of our amazing team and learn more about the role they play in helping our clients lead better lives.
All right, perfect. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Butter Torts, a truly Canadian legal podcast. Thank you so much for being with us today. It is my pleasure to welcome Kylie James to our podcast today. Welcome, Kylie.
Hi, Brenda. How's it going?
Good. We just had a conversation. It's Monday. We don't know when you're going to be listening to this, but it's Monday. We had a great conversation recapping our weekend. And so this is a great way to sort of start our week off. And again, thanks for being here. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm going to just read a little bit about Kylie. We are going to be talking today about nutrition, but more specifically, sort of the role of nutrition in recovery and the role that nutrition plays in rehab for people that have been impacted by a number of different injuries. And so I just wanted to briefly introduce Kylie. So Kylie James is the founder and director of Koru Nutrition. As a certified nutritionist and registered occupational therapist, her passion is nutrition and its impact on the brain and brain chemistry. Kylie is a certified nutritional practitioner whose nutrition area of expertise is working with clients with multifaceted problems, including brain injury, spinal cord injury, and other neurological disorders, digestive issues, mental health, autism, ADD, ADHD, that's super interesting, weight loss and gain. And then Kylie's got an amazing bio, but we just finished saying that my preference is always that I don't read off the bio, that we have a chance to go through and have you kind of talk about who you are and all of the wonderful things that you've done to get you to this point. So let's jump into it.
Sure. Okay, where to start? So I graduated as an OT in New Zealand. And then I had the travel bug. So I really wanted to get out of New Zealand and see the world. So I went to England and worked as an OT for 2.5 years in various hospitals, amputees, neurological, musculoskeletal, geriatrics and stuff like that. Came back to New Zealand for a year and then came to Canada 24 years ago now. And I worked as an occupational therapist in the motor vehicle industry. But after some time, I was getting burnt out. I was spread too thin. And my passion was always working with athletes. And I always wanted to be a physio or a sports psychologist. And then sort of nutrition started calling my name. So I thought, I'm going to go to nutrition school. So I became a nutritionist and I thought, okay, OT would be my bread and butter and nutrition would be something I'd do on the side. And then 12 years later, I've got 18 clinicians. I have nutritionists, dietitians, naturopath doctors, eating disordered coach, homeopath, and I don't do anything with athletes.
That's always the way, always.
Yeah. But I love the nutrition piece because it used so much of my OT skills. Everybody eats, so it's a great topic of conversation. And I love the science and the problem solving. And also, too, it's just trying to meet people where they're at because there's such an emotional component around eating as well.
Yeah.
So I grew the business and unfortunately, my nephew became a quadriplegic when he was 1.5 years old due to medical malpractice in Australia. And it's okay, I'm an OT, I'm a nutritionist, but I live on the other side of the world. So how can I help my sister and my nephew? And my colleague and I, we decided to apply to the grants to the Paralyzed Veterans of America to research and write a book on nutrition and spinal cord injury. So we wrote the book and we've been presenting in the States and in Canada on the topics of nutrition and spinal cord injury. And in our research, we discovered there really wasn't much research on specific nutrition SCI, and the various secondary health complications that come with spinal cord injury. But we were really privileged to be part of a study at Brock University
Okay.
down in Niagara, looking at the anti-inflammatory diet and measuring the cytokines, those inflammatory markers in the blood, and how that in turn impact pain, depression, and sleep. So it's a super cool study, and the results were amazing. So after the 3 months, I've got to remember this off the top of my head, but cytokines levels reduced by 28%, and depression scores reduced by 55%,
No
which is
way.
more than what SSRIs were, and in half the time that these antidepressants, SSRIs, would take effect, and without all the side effects like weight gain, sexual dysfunction, but with all
Yeah.
the benefits like weight loss and all that, and pain scores significantly reduced and sleep significantly improved. So it's a
No
super
way.
powerful study with anti-inflammatory diet and some supplements as well, with just a protein powder, omega-3, an antioxidant formula, and I think we had curcumin, which is the active component of turmeric, very anti-inflammatory, very good for neuroinflammation. So we did that study, and then I was also part of a study at Maryland University where we presented at Harvard Medical School at the
Cool.
my God, it was so nerve-wracking. I was popping lots of supplements, magnesium, GABA. I was like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I'm presenting to all these scientists, and here we are, these dinky little nutritionists from Toronto. And so I wrote the book, and then of course COVID hit, and like Canada was already having a mental health epidemic prior to
Yeah.
COVID,
Yeah.
and COVID just took it to a whole other level.
Mhm.
And I was just, when we were coming out of COVID, I could see so many people were struggling. Like I went out with my girlfriends, and all their daughters were on some type of anti-anxiety, antidepressant medication. And actually, when I was back in New Zealand during COVID, I took my son back, and one of my friends from high school, a guy, committed suicide. I
Oh,
went to the funeral, and the day after the funeral, his daughter committed
I'm
suicide.
so sorry to hear that.
I know. And then, like, it's just like, oh my gosh, there's so many people struggling out there. And antidepressants has a role,
Yeah.
totally has a role to play. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's so many other things that can help with depression that
Yeah.
are not being looked at, that could be the root underlying cause, that could really help people help to improve, manage, prevent, and even resolve depression. But that's not being looked at because people go and see a family doctor. Family doctors are not trained in supplements and nutrition. Their role is the antidepressant. So
Yeah.
it's not their fault. So it's important to empower people that there is other things that you can use or do in addition to or instead of, if
Yeah.
people don't want to go the medication route. So
Yeah.
yeah, and like I've seen a lot of my family members, my teenage daughter struggle with depression. Like it's just, so it really meant a lot to me to do that online program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why is it you think we don't, and I mean, I want to go back into some of the specifics of them, but why is it do you think that we don't have we hear about, I'm going to backtrack for a sec. We hear about the importance of nutrition with things like heart disease and they'll obviously cut this and this out if you want to have better heart health. And we hear about we hear about nutrition for weight loss. We hear about nutrition for some of those other pieces, but we don't hear about the role that nutrition plays. Like as you're talking, I had no idea, as someone who struggled with anxiety and depression over years, yes, go out for a walk, fresh air, exercise, get good sleep, all of those things. But nutrition has never come in to that conversation. And yet that's something that so many people can actually have some control over.
Mm.
Right? They can have like that's something that they can sort of take some control over. It's I just so why do you think, Kylie, that these aren't conversations that people are having about the role that nutrition can play in some of these conditions or disorders or
That's a really good really good question, Brenda. I think in part because we're so used to going the medical route, like, okay, we go to the family doctor, we're not feeling well. And I
Yeah.
guess when people struggle with depression, one of the other issues is that they struggle with motivation and
Yeah.
initiation. So when I developed this online depression program, one of my focuses was for the parents of teenagers or
Yeah.
the spouse, like someone that can support them. Now, it's definitely for people that struggle for themselves as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
I think it is increasing, but you're right. It's not really as talked about. And there is so much research out there on specific supplements being just as good as an antidepressant or
Yeah.
helping to improve the effects of the
Mhm.
antidepressant to the point that your dosage of the antidepressant can drop.
Right.
Um, yeah, I mean, in my online program, we do talk about like different lifestyle things too. Like the power of connection is huge, and that's one
Right.
of the goals because they're actually saying now that one of the biggest predictors of mortality and disease is loneliness. So,
Interesting.
so connection is so important for our immune system. There's so many biological processes that take place when we have these specific emotions and things like that. And I
Yeah.
guess too, we're in like we follow a standard American diet, which is
Yep.
abbreviated for
Yep.
SAD,
Yep.
because
Yep.
that's just
Yep.
what it is. We're so busy. We just don't have the time and the energy, like just what's quick and easy, the cereal, or let's just grab a coffee,
Right.
grab a bagel on the way out.
Yeah.
Like, so it's just, and people don't realize, because that's a big goal that we have at Koru, is just like breaking down those barriers. Yes, you can do it quick and easy. Like,
Yeah.
boil up a bunch of eggs and keep them in the fridge. They last for
Sure.
5 days in the fridge. Like
Sure.
chia pudding. That's only chia
Oh,
seeds, a
I
little bit of
love.
maple syrup, and almond milk. Mix that up, and you can grab and go snacks for the week. So,
Right.
and also too, like the big problem now that we're all facing is the cost of groceries.
Oh,
It's so crazy.
so
Like I've
crazy.
switched to no frills now, and I was like, oh my god, I save $100 on
Yeah.
groceries.
Yeah.
So that could be another thing that sort of scares people. It's like, oh, I don't want to see a nutritionist because they're going to recommend all this fancy stuff, and I just can't afford it. But to get back to your point, because I'm sorry, I'm totally deviating.
No, these are all important pieces to that. They all play into that.
Yeah,
Mm.
I honestly don't know why,
Yeah.
Brenda. It
Yeah.
isn't.
Yeah.
And what's really scary is that Health Canada is looking at regulating supplements and wanting to put them under like the medication. Um, uh,
Umbrella.
yeah, so there's
Yeah.
we've got like associations advocating because it might create that the access to supplements, which has
Right.
been transformational for some of my clients.
Yes. Yes.
Could be either way more expensive or no longer available, or the dosage is not there. So that's really scary what's happening with Health Canada right now and
Right.
supplements, because I've
Yeah.
seen such a difference with clients. Like I'll just give you an example.
Yeah.
And one client that's on the doctor put her on a really strong protein pump inhibitor for acid reflux. Now, from a alternative health perspective, after the age of 40, our acid reduces.
Okay.
With stress, our acid reduces. So there's a lot of things that we need stomach acid because it helps to break down
Yes.
protein. It helps to liberate B12 and minerals so we can absorb them into our body. And the stomach acid helps to trigger that cascade of reactions in our digestive processes. So if we don't have stomach acid, it really impacts our digestion and our ability to access those nutrients and get them into our body. So long-term use of protein pump inhibitors have showed an increase in Alzheimer's and a number of other health conditions. So there's one client who's like, I don't want to be on this medication. It's super strong. It's like, you know what? There's actually, if you eat a red apple a day, it can really help with your heartburn. So, and I said, like, I can't, as a nutritionist, we can't tell people to go off medications. I said
Right.
that it's
Yep.
totally up to you. I
Yep.
said my take on this is that you might not be creating enough stomach acid. So what happens is when people eat food, if they don't have enough stomach acid to help break it down and move it
Yeah.
down the
It's all
digestive tract, it comes back up and
right,
that
right.
heartburn.
Yeah.
So a red apple a day can really help with it. And I put her on a digestive enzyme with HCl, and she doesn't need the protein pump inhibitor anymore, has been able to manage this with the apple a day and the HCl and digestive enzymes.
See, isn't that amazing?
I know. So it pays for people to ask questions, to
Yeah.
research, to
Yeah.
sort of, and I mean, ChatGPT and Google are great, right? There's like
Yeah.
so much information out there, but it can be a little bit overwhelming as
For
well.
sure. For
But
sure. Where I've seen it a little bit, and not in so in kind of my world where my son is not he eats orally. He's got a pretty robust diet, but I have a number of friends in the cerebral palsy world, or just with children who have neurodiversities, who have children who are tube fed. And for years, they would have all of these associated challenges. So whether it was rashes or poor sleep or digestive issues, whatever it was, they would have all of these things going on. And, moms would do research and it would come up formula, 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 formula. And so mom started to look into, many of my friends would start to look into a whole pureed diet. So a real food through the tube, the same thing that everybody else was eating for dinner. And adding the supplements in, and the number of parents who did it, and they started to see sleep issues resolve. They started to see lower incidences for some of the epileptic activity. They started to see just all of those things, better skin, all of those different pieces. But they would find that when they got into a healthcare situation, so let's say they landed in the hospital for some reason, and they would say, oh, we need access to a blender, or we need this, or can we order off the menu some of these whole foods so that we can create this pureed diet? They were met with complete resistance. And it was, well, no, we can't do that. Like, we'll order formula up. And, moms are saying, no, like, formula doesn't have that complete nutritional piece. Using the whole foods has been life-changing for our kids. But so much pushback from the medical institutions, the doctors, the nurses, everybody's saying, no, 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 no. Formula has everything that it needs for your child. You don't need to worry about this. And this battle. And I remember talking to some of my friends who would say, Brenda, this doesn't make sense. Like, if your son comes into the hospital and he's not tube fed, he can order off the menu. He can order pancakes, he can order yogurt, he can order whatever he wants. But because my child is tube fed, they're insisting on, a formula. And it never made sense to me that why shouldn't they be eating what we're eating? And if we need a better diet, we add greens in, we add supplements in, we add this in, but they didn't have access to that. Anyways, my point in all of that was it really opened up my eyes to this reluctancy for so many people in the medical community to recognize the role of a proper diet and nutrition in good forms for children who had medical complexities or who had other things that were going on. It was amazing to me. It just blew my mind that they couldn't just,
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I mean, in regards to hospitals, they're limited with funding, right?
For
And
sure.
so, like, the meals there, even for the average person, is not good. Not
For sure.
good.
For sure.
And then, like, I've had clients where they're being tube fed, like as a spinal cord injury client,
Yeah.
and we were putting so much down that tube, like making smoothies,
Yeah.
greens powder, bone broth, like
Yeah.
because like there is so much nutrients in whole foods, even nutrients that haven't been discovered, like flavonoids, phytonutrients, antioxidants, that are just not found in these formulas.
Right.
And also too with formulas, like sometimes a lot of them are formulated to help with weight gain, so they have a lot of that omega-6, which is pro-inflammatory, which is the last thing we want our clients and our kids to be on,
Yeah.
and fillers. So, but it's not their training. It's not the nurses' training. It's not the doctors'
No.
training for
Yeah.
nutrition. And I know working in the motor vehicle industry, right? When our nutrition treatment plans go to be IE'd, it's a family doctor, and it'll be like, oh, soft tissue injuries don't need nutrition. It's just like,
Yes, it does. Yes, they
it's
do.
for mental health. It's not even for soft tissue
Right.
injuries.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and then I've actually done a rebuttal and said, my understanding, and it is I've spoken to doctors about this. They only get a half a day of nutrition training in
Right.
school, so it's not their fault.
Yeah.
It's just that they don't know. It's not their training.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I know. I think so. A lot of it is this mentality too, and you talked about the cost of things, and I have friends of mine that said, let's see, the cost of these specialized formulas, and I don't want to take away from the fact that there are some kids who do well by them. This works for some families. There are some families who don't have the capacity or don't have the ability to be able to puree these foods and do all of these things, and formula works for them. No problem. But for the families that it does work for, I think there has to be some support there. And I would have friends that would say, Brenda, the cost of formula is exorbitant, especially those specialized formulas. And she said, but my one friend, thinking about Italian background, and she said, but here we are, like, we're having this homemade spaghetti sauce with tomatoes from my garden, with garlic and olive oil and all of these great things. And why wouldn't I want to puree that up and
yeah,
give that to my daughter? And A, it's nutritionally better, but she's like, B, she's eating what we're all eating, and C, it costs less money than me going out and buying this expensive medical grade formula. And, again, the amount of resistance that many of these families face, even with their family doctors, even with, anyone that they encounter, it's pretty incredible to me that there aren't more. Again, I think we tend to look at things like heart disease, cholesterol, some of those mainstay, more mainstream health conditions. We now recognize publicly that nutrition plays a role, but these other ones, we don't. And it's hard to
yeah.
do that, right?
And it's interesting because just going back to the Italian, like the
Yeah.
garlic and the olive oil, garlic is antimicrobial,
Yes.
antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal. So really good for gut health. You've
Yeah.
got your tomatoes, which are high in vitamin C. They're more high in vitamin C than oranges.
Yeah.
Really high antioxidants, flavonoids. And then you've got olive oil, which is
Right.
anti-inflammatory. It's good fats. It's been shown to 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil a day has been shown to reduce your risk of depression, I think by about 28%. It helps to lubricate the bowels to help you go to the
Yes.
toilet better. Like
Right.
just in that tomatoes, the garlic, and the onion and the
Yeah. Olive
olive
oil.
oil,
Like,
there's just so much nutritional properties. Your body recognizes it. It doesn't have all those nasty fillers, and if it's coming straight from the garden, then I'm sure it's organic, so it doesn't have all those fertilizers and sprays and everything like that as well. So
yeah. So when
yeah.
we when we look at things from and I think the big part and part of your rule is, and you just mentioned it, is getting client, and I'll bring this sort of back to the realm that we're in, which is the motor vehicle world, or it's in people who are in recovery after an accident, let's say, but it's getting them access to nutritionists, access to be able to have that resource for them as part of their recovery. And, are you seeing gains being made in that? Like, are you seeing insurance companies? Are you seeing that light bulb going on to say, okay, we need to make this part of the recovery plan, or we need to make this part of the treatment plan? Like, are you seeing changes from that perspective
Well,
with
we've been doing
those?
this for 12 years. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, we have a pretty decent approval rate, about 75, 80%.
Okay.
Although I do feel like over the last year or so, which I know is industry wide, that they are becoming a lot more picky. So like at the end back of our OCF 18s, I I put my bio because I have to sign off on all the treatment plans because as an OT, I'm a regulated health professional, so I can sign off on the OCF 18 forms for my clinicians. But we put like studies and references in. So they have a brain injury. This is all the research about nutrition and brain injury. And when we do our progress reports, we're very big on outcome measures. So we take a lot of that. We do a computerized analysis of their food journal. So it looks at how much calories they're consuming over the 3 days, how much protein, fat, omega-3, omega-6, all the vitamins, all the minerals. And then when we go to do our progress report, we do the 3-day food journal again, and we look at how those nutrient profiles have changed. And that's a great way to advocate, look, they're really low in vitamin D. No one can get enough vitamin D from food.
Right.
It's really out there in the sun. That's the best vitamin D, but we live in Canada. And in the summer, it's always like, oh my gosh, like the harmful skin rays are all covered up. So we really struggle to get enough vitamin D. So everyone should be supplementing with vitamin D. Like, I mean, I was taking 3,000 IUs and I was still at the low end of normal. And I like to sunbathe. I like to be out in the sun. So it just goes to show like the importance of vitamin D, right? Yeah, so we do the computerized analysis of their food journal, and then we track the changes in their symptoms too. Like, it's huge when we put them on an anti-inflammatory diet, how much their headaches go down, how much their sleep improves, how much their mood improves. So we track all that. And yeah, it's really cool stuff. Like, I've had a client that would only have a bowel motion once a week, and now he goes every day. And now because he goes every day, now he has an appetite. Now he eats. And so now he has more energy. It's this like ripple effect, right? It just deal with one thing, and then there's this like ripple effect of everything else. So, but I do find with like naturopath doctors and like with nutrition, you know, you're trying to, yes, you're looking at the symptoms, but you're trying to get to the root cause. Where sometimes with medications, it's looking at addressing that symptom, and then there's side effects. So then you have to take another medication because of that side effect, and so on and so on. So so it's interesting.
So you mentioned brain injury. So talk to me, or talk to the, our listeners today. I want to hear more about the role of nutrition with brain injury. Like what does that look like? What are those, you mentioned a few of those components, but what does that big picture sort of look like with how you approach that with clients who have had a brain injury?
So always it's like piecemeal. I don't give anyone a meal plan because that's too overwhelming. It's too overwhelming for us, right? So let's start at the beginning. So always start with breakfast, because that tends to be something that's not the greatest meal that people are consuming. Because one of the big things with brain injury is you want to balance blood sugars, because when blood sugars drop, it just magnifies all those brain injury related problems. Dizziness, can't concentrate, can't remember, can't sleep, mood swings, what else? It causes weight gain. If you have unstable blood sugars, you have 3 times more difficulty losing weight. And when blood sugars drop, your body naturally produces that stress hormone cortisol to raise your blood sugars back up. Now, a lot of our clients are already stressed out, like they can't work, they're like got all these appointments, their whole life is just turned upside down. So they're already stressed out. So you put unbalanced blood sugars on top of that, then the cortisol is even more. Now, cortisol in itself is a problem too, because that can cause muscle and bone to break down if we have chronic stress.
Really?
And our clients have soft tissue injuries. They have bone fractures, and it interferes with the production of neurotransmitters. So blood sugar balance is huge. So let's start with breakfast. So good breakfast to start off with is like, I like the chia pudding or the overnight oats, put protein powder in it. Right. So again, make a batch and then it's grab and go. You can do the protein shakes. You can do some boiled eggs. You can do omelette. And you don't even have to have a traditional breakfast. Sure. Why don't you just do some leftover dinner? You cooked up some chicken, just have some chicken.
No, that's not Fruit Loops. I can't have chicken for breakfast. I can't have chicken for breakfast, right?
Yeah.
Or even some mentality.
some smoked salmon or
Yeah.
avocado. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be traditional, right? And
Right.
if you're not hungry in the morning, maybe you sip on some bone broth instead because it's so nutrient dense. So, like, yeah, so the blood sugar balance is really important for brain injury, and always start with breakfast because that sets the stage for better blood sugar balance during the day.
Okay.
Because if you start off with the Fruit Loops, you get that blood sugar spike, but it
Yeah.
goes above that normal level. Your body has to produce a lot of insulin to deal with that glucose. Now, insulin is inflammatory.
Right.
So when we have too much insulin, we have a lot of inflammation. Inflammation is going to contribute to brain fog, to headaches, to pain, to poor sleep, to
Yeah.
poor memory. It's a root cause of so many health issues, inflammation. And then you're going to have brain fog, you're going to have like energy swings, and then what comes up must come crashing down. And so when your blood sugars crash, you're not going to go for the carrots and the hummus or the chicken. You're going to
Right.
go for that candy bar, or you're going to go for that like donuts that's sitting in the
Network in the room.
kitchen at work, right? Because your blood sugars drop. It's like, oh, I need something. And
That's
when
right.
you think of brain injury, they really struggle with like cognitive fatigue,
Yes.
difficulty focusing. So they're wanting that quick hit sugar to sort of help keep them going, but it
Yeah.
just creates a long-term negative spiral downwards. So blood sugar balance, really start with having balanced meals. So a protein with some complex carbs. And when I say complex carbs, I mean like vegetables, low glycemic fruits, legumes, like beans, like brown rice and things like that.
Yeah.
And then a good fat. So olive oil is really good, avocado oil, coconut oil, like
Right.
those are all really great.
Yeah.
Another big thing with blood sugar balance is making sure we get a lot of good fats. So we're a bunch of fat heads.
Okay.
Like 60% of our head brain is made up of fat, including saturated fat. So
Interesting.
we do need some saturated fat, but unfortunately we get too much of that bad saturated fat from
Right.
the standard American diet.
Right.
So lots of those omega-3s. So your walnuts, your oily fish like salmon and tuna, like the cans of tuna, great, grab and go.
Yeah.
Mackerel. You want to get like some like maybe macadamia nuts,
Okay.
avocado, ground flaxseed, chia seeds. So those are all really good. Those good fats to feed the brain, ensure that smooth transmission of that nerve, because those good fats help to make up the mammalian sheath that
Okay.
surrounds our nerves to ensure a smooth transmission.
Okay.
B vitamins are really important. B for brain. B12, B6 help to make a number of neurotransmitters. They really have a huge role to play with energy, and they actually help with prevent brain shrinkage. So that's really important to support, like, some good quality meats and brown rice and things like that.
Right.
Lots of dark leafy greens as well. And it's funny because that sometimes I have clients that say, Kylie, I don't do vegetables. And I was just like, just put some like spinach in your smoothie. You won't know. You've got the berries, you've got the protein powder.
Yeah.
So, oh, okay. So it's like, he goes, Mom, can you put spinach in my smoothie? My nutritionist is telling me to do it. He goes, oh, darling, I've been putting spinach in your smoothie for the last
Right.
month, and you haven't noticed.
You haven't noticed. Exactly.
So that's a big thing too, is trying to break down those barriers. So how can I sneak in vegetables? So smoothies a good one, maybe doing like avocado chocolate pudding. So it's just like, someone that's got a real sweet tooth
Yeah.
and struggling to get off the sugar. Maybe we look at doing like something like that where it gets those good, avocado in there. Or like instead of doing like lots of cheese and crackers, let's do guacamole.
Right.
So there's just lots of ways to sort of break, like a lot of soups, pureed, so it all gets hidden.
Yeah.
You can do baking, like black bean brownies,
Right.
zucchini loaf. Like there's lots
Yeah.
of ways to sort
Yeah.
of get those vegetables in there. Like I'm not a big fan of juicing because you take the fiber out, and fiber is so important to feed our gut microbiome. Also, too, you're wasting food when
Sure.
food is so expensive.
Yep.
So the juice spikes blood sugars. You're wasting the fiber, and it's such a hassle for the prep and the cleanup
Oh yeah.
afterwards, which our brain injury clients just don't have the
No.
energy to do all that, right?
No.
So fiber is really important for brain injury too, because when I support brain health, I always support gut health. So in the fetus, our gut and brain are actually one organ. They're joined together, and as the fetus develops, they actually pull apart, and they're connected by the vagus nerve. So
Wow.
I just learned this the other day, actually. So the gut-brain connection is huge, and there's so much research coming out. And when you think about our emotions, how we get anxious or excited, that's emotion that is felt in the gut, right?
Yes. Yes.
So there's a number of factors of the gut that influences the brain and the brain to the gut. So you think of IBS and all that. So I have
Mm-hmm.
clients that have IBS before the accident, and they're doing okay. They're managing.
Yep.
Have the car accident, their IBS is through the roof because of stress.
Yes.
Stress impacts the gut, and their gut goes to pieces a bit. So
Amazing.
and this is really interesting. There's actually research to show that when individuals have a brain injury, in some case, the blood-brain barrier opens up, but so too does the gut. So the gut becomes more leaky, and people are more prone to food intolerances and allergies that could be fueling all their brain injury-related symptoms, right?
Oh my gosh.
So, and the gut bacteria is huge. When you think of the how much bacteria we have in our gut, and then the genes that they hold compared to the genes that we have, it makes us only 1% human. That's how much our gut bacteria.
That's
It's like
wild.
we're just a host for the bacteria, right?
Yeah.
It's Horton's Who, with the little.
We're just here for you. Yeah, we're just here for yeah. That's
my point.
wild.
So this gut microbiome has huge implications on brain health, behavior, motivation. It's huge with neurodivergent kids, huge.
Yeah.
And there's actually research to show that so if you and me were both on an antidepressant, you did really well on it, I did terrible, had bad side effects. The difference between us actually could be because of our difference in microbiome.
Really?
So they've actually shown that the bacteria in our gut can determine if a medication is going to be effective or not, and if we're going to have side effects. It has a huge role in mental health. Our gut microbiome, it has a huge role in weight gain. It impacts our skin health. It's super powerful stuff. Everyone should be supporting their gut microbiome because it has such a huge role to play with brain health and overall health, mental health, cognition, and everything. Immune system is huge. So the ways to do that is eating fermented foods.
Okay.
So kimchi.
Yeah.
I mean, yogurt's good, but kefir is way better. It's got more probiotics in. Sauerkraut has trillions of bacteria. So just do a little side of sauerkraut with your chicken. Miso soup.
Yeah.
All those pickles. Anything fermented is good.
Yeah.
And then you want to consume prebiotic foods to feed the probiotics. So that's Jerusalem artichoke, bananas, and eating a ton of fiber and a variety of different colors, like fruits and vegetables, because there's actually research to show that the variety of fruits and vegetables that you eat, the variety you'll have in the gut microbiome, and those changes actually happen quite quickly when you implement more fruits and vegetables in your diet.
So how do you help someone in all of that, Kylie? How do you, and this is something you and I sort of talked on the phone, we were talking about this podcast planning, but and you referenced it earlier with so there's the overwhelming piece of just trying to figure this all out. But so two things. How do you make it, I guess, simpler for your clients, as simple as possible, knowing that there's brain injuries, or just that you have clients who may have a child with ADD or ADHD or autism who's super overwhelmed with life. So how do you make it simple for them, I guess, in the best way possible? And then how do you make it so that they can afford it? Because, I think that's another thing too, right? Is that people need to know what is an option. If I can't afford salmon, then it's a can of tuna. If I can't afford this. So how do you work with your clients on simplicity so that they can be as successful as possible on
Yeah,
implementing
I
and
mean, that's
maintaining?
such a huge role with our
Yeah.
clients. Like,
And then the cost. Yeah.
yeah, so 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 I do love batch cooking with clients. As it's like,
Okay.
okay, make a big chili, a turkey
Sure.
chili. Turkey's high in tryptophan, which helps to make serotonin and melatonin. Serotonin is a natural pain reliever, as well as helps with mood, helps with sleep.
Yeah.
So let's do a big batch of turkey chili.
Okay.
Now we can make that cheaper by adding in a bunch of legumes. Now they're
Gotcha.
high in protein. They're actually really high in antioxidants. They're really high in fiber. So legumes is a go-to for people that can't afford,
Okay.
um, a
Sure.
massive reservoir of
Yeah.
fancy foods and stuff. Like
Sure.
none of my clients eat fancy foods because they're all in the same boat, right?
Yeah.
So you can make that dish be twice as big when you implement like the legumes as a way to offset the meat because meat's expensive, right?
Sure.
I mean, I
Yep.
do recommend soups and stews because it does push the budget more. And a
Yep.
lot of my clients aren't drinking enough water. Like if you're 2% dehydrated, you've already lost 25 to 30% of your energy. And you think of our brain injury clients, they're all
Oh,
fatigued, right?
yeah.
Maybe it's just, I just have another client. She's actually a colleague in this industry. She's been struggling with migraines for ages. I put her on this. It's the Metabolic Balance Program. This is another program that myself and a bunch of my clinicians are doing. And she's no longer taking her migraine medication. And she goes,
Oh,
I honestly think it's because she goes, I'm eating more on your program than I was before, and I'm drinking more water.
yeah. Hydrate.
And she's eating whole foods, like she's
Yeah.
eating more vegetables and stuff like
Right.
that. So
Right.
yeah, I have another client getting off their fibromyalgia medication because they're following like an anti-inflammatory diet, the metabolic balance plan. But sorry, I totally like
That's okay. This is all important.
yeah. So it, like again, you work out because sometimes people too is like they're doing takeout. And they're
Right.
like ordering their coffee out all the time, or we always get
Yes.
McDonald's on Friday and stuff like that. And I mean,
Yep.
McDonald's is not cheap anymore either.
No, it's not.
So like oats, overnight oats is a good one. So
Yep.
oatmeal, you put some chia seed, flaxseed. Okay, that's more expensive, but you're only putting a tablespoon
Sure.
in.
Sure. Sure.
And then, you put some nuts and seeds on top. So you're getting
Yep.
some good protein there. I
Yep.
mean, you can pick up some relatively cheap protein powder and put that in. So it's all grab
Right.
and go. Eggs is a big one. Now,
Yes.
eggs don't raise cholesterol. It's sugar that raises cholesterol.
Right. That old myth for all those
Yeah.
years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I sometimes sit down with clients. It's like, oh, you got a really busy day today. Why don't we make that night as omelet night where you make some
Yes.
omelets
Yes.
with vegetables? Like you don't have to have it for breakfast, right?
Right.
Or, we did batch cook the turkey chili. So maybe, every Tuesday so maybe Sunday you do some batch cooking. So, Tuesday's a crazy day for you.
Yeah.
That's when maybe you take out a portion that you've frozen of the turkey chili and have it that night.
Sure.
The slow cookers are a good one because people tend to have more energy in the morning.
Yes.
Put a whole bunch of food in there, and then at night when you're exhausted, it's ready to go.
Right.
And
Right.
you've cooked in a batch so you can have leftovers. So a big
Yeah.
one on leftovers.
Yeah.
And then I have some clients like, they don't eat. They're not hungry. So it's just like, okay, can we do like lots of little snacks throughout the day? So
Right.
let's do a boiled egg and some pickles. You got some fermented foods, some good fats. Because the yolk in the egg contains choline, which really helps to make the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, which is really good for memory. So eggs are good for
Okay.
memory, right? And they're
Okay.
cheap. They're quick and easy to make. Like it's such a go-to.
Yeah.
And like an apple a day is really good as well because it's going to
Yeah.
fill you up, helps with digestion. There's like over 200 nutrients in apples. Like it's low
Right.
on the glycemic index. So there's just simple things like that. Like everyone's different. So
Sure.
there's always there's different things to bring into play. But I always start with the breakfast first because dinner it's a bit more complicated because you've got
Sure.
like the whole family involved. But
Sure.
the batch cooking is a big one, the slow cooker, the legumes, and sometimes doing like meatless Monday, making
Oh,
well,
great.
one night a week is
Yeah.
vegetarian. I
Yeah.
mean, one of the best, the Mediterranean is the most studied diet out there and
Sure.
has a lot of positive, like tons of great research with
Yeah.
cardiovascular health, brain health, it's got the good fats, the whole foods. But the
Yeah.
flexitarian diet is another really good one too, which is, have you heard of flexitarian?
No.
So it's vegetarian, but you do meat now and again.
Oh,
So, because
interesting.
you do
Okay.
need the iron and the B12, like that is hard to get from vegetarian sources.
Sure.
So, yeah, we just don't eat enough vegetables and fruit
Yeah.
now. Like,
Yeah.
so the flexitarian's another good one. I mean, with some of my brain injury clients, if it works, we do the ketogenic diet.
Yes. I have a number of friends whose kids are on that for seizures.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I've seen great results with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You lose the weight. I've had keto is really good for digestive problems.
Right.
Like I had one client who basically the seat belt sliced all his internal organs, but
Oh
didn't
my
pierce the
God.
skin.
Oh,
So he would have these, like his bowels were a disability. Like he would have dumping
yeah.
episodes. He'd have to be like close to a washroom all
Yeah.
the time. Like,
Yeah.
and we did intermittent. He tried, and weight loss was an issue too. He couldn't lose weight. He'd put on a bunch of weight. The doctor put him on a low calorie diet. Calories in versus calorie out. That's old school. That doesn't work.
Yes.
So,
Right.
that didn't work. Then he was put on some other diet. I can't remember what it was. We tried the anti-inflammatory diet first. Did not work. Did not do anything. Then we did intermittent fasting and keto. It was a game changer. Like he was a super sporty guy. He could only do 9 holes in a cart prior, and then on keto he would walk 18 holes.
Oh my
Didn't need a
gosh.
cart. He said the intermittent fasting was really good because it gave his gut a break, and
Yeah.
so he didn't need to be freaking out on the golf course, like where is the washroom?
Right. Right.
And then his physio, his massage therapist all noticed big difference in his inflammation because keto is a very anti-inflammatory diet as well. But it is a hard diet to do. You
Yeah.
have to do more planning and organizing, so it doesn't work for everyone.
Right.
And then especially for women, you want to start incorporating some carb ups as well, and sort of more lean at the end, more lean towards a like low carb, high fat diet, and not actually be in strict keto, because it can be a hard diet to do long term.
So hearing you talk and recognizing that, and we've talked about it a few times throughout here, that sense of overwhelming, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to do all of that. I think it's important that people get access to a professional, that they talk to someone who at least can set them on the path, who can, like I started seeing a personal trainer lately, and I've had her, I've had her comment like, Brenda, we could probably like wean you off a session and you could do it on your own. And I'm like, no, I need to keep seeing, because she corrects my form and she helps me do workarounds. So if my knees bother me that day, I would go home.
And it's that accountability, right? It's that structured
I
time that
can't
you've committed
cancel.
to.
Yes, I feel horrible saying I can't make it. So all of those reasons, right? And so I tremendously see the value of working with her. I see the value. Anyways, all of those pieces, but I couldn't have done it without that professional approach. It was an investment, but I'm happy that I've done it and continue to do it. And so my point in all of that is that, especially for something like nutrition, which can be so overwhelming, there can be so many different options. You just listed 4 or 5 different types of diets people can follow. How do people start that? Kylie, like how would they reach out to you to say, okay, like how does someone go about, because obviously if they've been impacted by a personal injury, they're going to have some guidance, through that process is a little different. And I hope people continue to encourage that part of the treatment plan when they're working with clients. But for other people who are listening, who may feel intimidated to reach out to a nutritionist, who may not know where to start, what's the, how do they do
I
that?
definitely don't think people should feel intimidated because we're always working where they're at. Like,
Okay.
yeah. So it's just because you could be the best nutritionist in the world, but if people can't follow through with the plan, it's
Yeah.
useless, right? So
Right.
you have to meet them where they're at. You have to look at all those compounding factors, like who's cooking the meals, what the budget's like.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be this crazy thing. Like, it's just,
Right.
hey, let's just do chia pudding. Like, it's just
Sure.
3 ingredients.
Super easy.
And it's grab and go. It can last in the fridge for a while.
Yeah.
So we're always meeting clients where they're at. So
Okay.
it doesn't have to be overwhelming.
Okay.
And then, I mean, to reach out, they can just contact us on www.korunutrition.com and just email me.
Perfect.
info@korunutrition.com just goes straight to me.
Perfect.
And then there's different ways. So if it's in motor vehicle,
Yep.
like, we do a treatment plan for an assessment. And the good thing is, if we recommend supplements, then the insurance company
Covered.
approves that.
Yes. Right.
Sometimes we recommend equipment like an air fryer or a toaster oven or a blender. So that can be covered by the insurance company.
Okay.
Now, even sometimes we recommend meal delivery services.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, and we've
Yeah.
been getting those approved
Yeah.
because, there's just no one there to cook the meals.
Sure.
So the meal, and I've just had this one client, the most massive mental health issues, like behavioral issues and stuff, and the meal delivery has been a game changer.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
So actually, the thing that, like, we tried a bunch, he's got a lot of texture, taste aversions. So there's definitely a potential neurodivergent component there.
Sure.
But the one thing that's really worked for him is egg bites. And actually, it works a lot for my clients. Like, again, cheap eggs, great way to get some vegetables in there. We'll do some spinach and
Can you do them in
mushrooms.
advance? Yep.
Yeah, put them
Yep.
in like a silicone muffin tray.
Yep.
They keep in the fridge for like 3 or 4 days.
Yep.
So again, that has been his go-to. That has been a godsend. And now he's got the meal delivery. So we can look at both, right?
Yeah.
And also too, like, it's not just the person that's been in the motor vehicle accident too. It's like the caregivers. And I know Gluckstein and Associates does the compassion fatigue,
Yes.
which is huge because I see that with my sister, with her son. She's got 3 boys. The middle one is the one with the spinal cord injury.
Yeah.
And they live in New Zealand, but her husband works in Australia.
Right.
So he comes back and forth. So she is a single mom with 3 kids. And I see that compassion fatigue in her sometimes as well. So it is, and I know too, a lot of people, a family member gets in an accident, sometimes the spouse or other people get a claim too. So, and so we get those referrals as well to help with managing the stress, the depression, and things like that. So, and then just the privates, because we're really trying to build up the privates. So that Metabolic Balance Program is just a game changer. I'm so excited about this. Like, I'm seeing people lose weight that have failed in multiple areas. It's got one of the most, it's studied. There's a lot of research, people getting off pain medication, very good for menopause, perimenopausal women. And it starts off strict and then slowly gets easier and easier, but it has one of the most successful sustained weight loss programs out there. Like 60% to 80% people keep the weight off long term.
Amazing.
So like and again, people getting off their anxiety and depression medication, because the program's all around insulin and inflammation.
Okay.
Which becomes a problem in menopause.
Sure.
It's a problem with our MVA clients.
Yeah.
I have some of my MVA clients on that program as well. And it's really cool because it's based on your blood work. So you get your blood work done. We enter it into our software system, as well as your health goals, your measurements, and stuff like that. And then it gets sent to Germany, and Germany populates a food list and a meal plan based on your blood work.
No way.
And it's really cool. So me and my husband did it. I could have red peppers, but he could only do green peppers. Wow. I could do those nice big tiger prawns, but he could only do like the mini shrimps. So it's very specific.
Yeah.
And then with fruit, I could have like I mean, everyone has to have an apple a day. That's part of the program. And then there's these 8 rules to follow, which are all pretty easy rules to follow. And the meal prep's basic because it's a protein, a vegetable, maybe some rye bread or rye crack. Like, it's very basic meal prep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's something that we're seeing like really good results with clients, and I'm super excited about, because it's like it went above and beyond my expectations of what a nutrition program could do, and it is easy to follow. A lot of people have been following it because, you know, that's the thing. It's just like it has to work, so people are going to follow through with it, and it's really a successful program, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think too, we always forget to check our benefits. Like benefit plans have come, right? They have come tenfold. And so I think we, you know, I know for me, like as you're talking, I'm like, the metabolic thing sounds pretty interesting. And so, but you know, in my mind, I'm like, is that covered? Do we have benefits? Because I think people just think about it for things like PT, OT, you know, massage, chiropractic, but so many benefit plans will cover these other practitioners. So,
and also too, like I have nutritionists and dietitians that have that. So if nutritionist isn't covered, dietitian is. So I have metabolic balance coaches that are nutritionists and or dietitians. So it's both. And actually, one of my naturopath doctors, Dr. Rupa Salwan, is a metabolic balance coach too. So it's so good to see these results in clients, and just like, especially for the menopausal woman, like sleeping through the night, like I was sleeping through the night, like my hot flashes went away. Like,
I don't know what that feels like to sleep through the night. I have no idea.
I know, it's so annoying that 3 o'clock is just like, you're like an owl, eh?
That would be amazing. Okay, so I need to check my benefits. B, everybody else needs to check their benefits. And so, okay, I'm cognizant of the time because, you know, we could talk about this forever. This is such an interesting topic that, again, in all of the podcast episodes I think we've done, we've talked about all of these different interventions. We've even talked about music therapy and equine therapy, and that I remember over the years, we haven't had a conversation about, you know, sort of strictly the role of nutrition and what that looks like, you know, for someone who's been involved in a catastrophic injury or accident, but, you know, they're caregivers or just the average person that's out there, you know, the role that nutrition can play for them. It doesn't have to be overwhelming.
Yeah, and I do want to bring up the point too that another thing that's overlooked with brain injury is the hormones.
Right.
So that's why I got a naturopath doctor. So I was seeing a client who wasn't losing weight. The family doctor, she always had a thyroid problem, but he would test T3 and T4. And it's like, they're always normal. I sent her to a naturopath doctor, and she tested active T3. So my client was making the thyroid hormones T3 and T4, but she wasn't converting it into the active T3 that did all the work in the body. So the naturopath doctor put her on a supplement. It helped with a lot of her symptoms, and it helped with the weight loss. So I literally, I was down at the London Brain Injury Conference, and a naturopath doctor did a talk, and he talked about the changes in hormones. And literally this weekend, I just did an article about brain injury and concussion and how what hormones have changed. So cortisol, thyroid, sex hormones, testosterone, insulin. So there's all those hormone changes. Now, it's interesting. I did a talk to CAA Insurance to a bunch of adjusters.
Interesting.
And they wanted to know, how does menopause impact concussion and brain injury and working with clients. So in my research and looking into this was mind-blowing. I don't know who came up with this kind of research, but they did this study on when women got in, where they were in their cycle when they sustained their concussion. And it was interesting. It showed that I think it was at the second part of their cycle, when the hormones were lower, that their post-concussion symptoms were worse. So depending where you are in the cycle will determine the extent of your concussion symptoms. And other research showed that women in menstrual years, when they sustain concussion or brain injury, have the worst post-concussion symptoms compared to females that sustained their concussion before they started menstruating, menopausal women, and men. So Yeah, I've been starting to watch a podcast with Dr. Mary Claire Haver, and she was a family doctor. She started going through menopause. She goes, we had no training in menopause um in medical school.
No.
And so I've been listening to her, and it's fascinating what these hormones do, how important estrogen is, and that whole study that was done about breast cancer, and
Yes.
doing it's completely kibosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's wrong.
Yeah.
It just has anti-cancer benefits. It's so anti-inflammatory. Like, yeah, she had some really good information, and what she was saying was like all these studies that are done like on statin drugs and things like that, they're all on males. They're not on females. There's actually no
Yes.
research to show that statin drugs help to reduce cardiovascular disease in women. We are fundamentally different from men, and a
Yes.
lot of these studies are done on
On
men.
the-
And there's such a different component that women have with our hormones, like
Yeah.
where we are in our cycle, menopause, because I'm perimenopausal, like starting to go
Yeah.
through the change. And it's a topic of conversation with all my friends now.
Always.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Always.
Yeah. So it's like that's a big thing that gets taken for granted. So hormone changes with people that have been in a car accident, and especially with concussion and brain injury, and
Yeah.
just in general as well.
Honestly, like, look how you're so like, I'm getting excited, and this isn't I can tell that you have such a passion for this. And I think the amazing part is that there's all this continuous learning, like the fact that there's all of these things that are
The more
still,
you learn, I feel like the less I know, because
yeah, it's pretty
yeah.
wild. But I think that just lends itself to the fact that, people have to be open and aware, and they have to be constantly learning and constantly, these things are evolving. And, again, if I bring it sort of back to supporting clients, the types of clients that we have that come through our firm, for the purpose of this podcast. But if I just take a look at that, I think it's important that we continually, what is out there? What are the best things that we can help our clients from a recovery perspective? What are the interventions, the treatments, the professionals who, what are constantly, like you just said, the role of hormones, when it comes to brain injury, and how does that play into nutrition? All of these things I think we can't just stay where we used to be and have, obviously those traditional interventions definitely play a role, but we're missing so much without the rest of it.
But you know what, Brenda? I do find people more and more are like advocating for alternative
Good.
health options.
Good.
They're wanting to look at medical and the alternative, like the nutrition, the naturopath, Dr. Root, or it's like, no, I'm not going to take I mean, there's the whole other thing we haven't talked about with like Ozempic, right? Like,
Yeah.
so many people are Ozempic, and I have a family doctor that refers us clients for the Metabolic Balance Program. And, it is interesting. There is a ton of positive research about like Ozempic helping with so many other issues.
Right.
But it's still a new drug. We still don't know what the long-term effects are. And Ozempic works when you take it, but as soon as you stop, so
Absolutely.
you have to do it in conjunction with, nutrition.
Absolutely. A healthy approach. Absolutely. Yeah,
And
definitely.
she's great because she does say, I always start them on the lowest dose, and the goal is to actually get them off the Ozempic.
And then have other eating. What are your other eating habits? What was the underlying issue of why you got into this? Is it health related? Is it behavioral? What is it, right? What led to the weight gain, or what led to that part to begin with?
Well, and that's the thing. That's why I've hired an eating disordered coach, because there is such an emotional component.
Yeah.
There could be neurotransmitter issues with the cravings too. Like, I literally just did this course, and it looked at different neurotransmitters. So if you are craving food as like for focus, then like sugar to like increase focus and motivation, you need to supplement with L-Dopa because you may have low dopamine.
Sure.
If it's more stress eating, then it's better. Maybe you have low GABA, so you supplement with like a GABA supplement. So it's interesting. There is like different neurotransmitters And the gut microbiome is huge. If you've got yeast or bad bacteria, they are going to tell your brain to feed me sugar. So again, there's just so many. This whole calories in, calories out is just like totally old school.
It's wild. So we definitely need to do a part 2 then, is what I'm hearing, because we didn't get to everything today.
Yeah.
But this has been like, I've got some takeaways for sure. I know other people who will listen to this will definitely have some takeaways. If anybody has any questions, definitely reach out to Kylie and her group. We will have all the information in the show notes. But, the website again, Kylie?
Koru, Koru Nutrition.com, or just reach out to me, Kylie, Kylie at KoruNutrition.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kylie. Like, honestly,
I get excited.
I know, it's so great. Thank you so much for doing this. This has been wonderful. Hopefully we will talk again. I'm sure we will. Everybody reach out to Kylie if you have questions. I know I will be. And thanks again so much. Thanks everybody for joining us. And thanks for being our guest, Kylie.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure. I love chatting with you, Brenda.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.